Hi guys. I had another thought I wanted to share, and that is around the feeling of being stuck or kind of in a mundane type of discomfort or suffering. And that oftentimes when we're kind of in this not super low, not super high feeling, but low enough to where it creates this discomfort or kind of ongoing mundaneness. Kind of feels a little muddy and a little bit of stuckness or static. And I just want to highlight that as being that experience as a type of suffering that is just as valid as our darkest moments, our moments of hit and rock bottom or experiencing immense emotion that typically there are aspects of us that are speaking up to get our attention. They're calling attention to something that within us that wants more or needs more. And it usually starts with this kind of sensation. It's kind of a low, dull sensation. Sorry, I combine my words by accident often. Make up new words. It creates this sensation, and we're so socialized, especially male socialized people, to disregard it, overlook it, not validate it within our experience, that within the US we need to push through and overcome it, ignore it. It's not important. It doesn't matter. Perhaps, the feelings that, well, there's greater suffering, there's worse problems, worse situations that I don't need to give this much attention. Or maybe I don't know how, or I don't have the time, or I don't have the resources. It can feel like that as well. But I want to highlight this type of discomfort as, again, just as important, just as valid, and that not to create a hypervigilance of every time there's something uncomfortable, I have to give it, all my attention. But if it's something that's persistent, it continues, it's almost like a nagging, it's been there a little while, that's when you know that it's not something fleeting or passing, like temporary discomfort or a response to something that's going on that day. That if it's been around, even a few weeks or a few months, that's when you know that it's trying to get your attention. And oftentimes, if we don't pay attention to it, sometimes, not always, sometimes that tactic of getting your attention moves from a dull, mundane type of suffering to something more attention getting, more uncomfortable, more intense. And that could show up in the form of an illness, pain, a type of anxiety, something that personalized to you gets your attention. Looks different for everyone. Your parts know what gets your attention, and they will utilize those methods to get your attention in order to do their job of getting a need of yours met, or a want of yours met. So how can we turn that suffering, that kind of mundane day-to-day discomfort into, how can we give that attention, and how can we move through that, even though that feeling itself feels like we're going to be in it forever, it's never going to change, it's just this feeling of stuckness sometimes. And the main way is really just to properly give it love and attention, to really notice it, to really hold that feeling that part of you, the fears and thoughts, beliefs that come from that part of you or that feeling, really hold it with acceptance, really inviting it to be there, giving it time and attention. It's like with a young child that, they fall by accident, hurt themselves, and they start crying. If you let that child cry long enough, they'll get over it. Unless they've learned that there is no proper way of, there's no outlet for them or proper support, then they might continue crying. But if you really give that child attention, that I'm here as long as you need, unlimited, unconditional love with no judgment, pure acceptance, that child will cry and get it out of the system, and then they're going to feel better. And it's the same kind of thing with these feelings, that just being present, just bringing loving awareness, and then seeing what happens. And then depending on what happens, continue to give them love and attention. And just sitting them with them as long as needed. And this can be done one time, multiple times, different times, different experiences by yourself, with someone else. But really the most important thing is just to accept it. Just love it exactly as it is, accept you exactly where you are, and just giving time and attention to it. And that feels like the opposite of movement, is to be still and to just be there and do nothing. But you're actually doing way more than nothing. You're giving loving attention. That is huge. It's, from an energetic standpoint, spiritual standpoint, it's channeling a level of energy, love, and attention to a very specific place and time and space within yourself, so that it shifts, and eventually it will shift. And to try to not have expectations of when that's going to shift. Really accept it for, I'm going to be with this as long as it takes. And again, it's just being still. It's doing the opposite of what we think and what we're socialized to think is movement or action. This is actually the biggest thing we can do. So just wanted to offer that and invite all of us to continue to really notice those discomforts, as big or small as they feel, as our mind wants to give assignment to, that they're all valid. And that if it's something that, again, is there over time, again, not every little thing do we need to sit down and do this with. We can become really obsessive and hypervigilant about it, but not going as far as that, but just really, if things have been around a little while, this is the tapping on the shoulder for long enough where it's time to sit down and really give yourself that proper love and attention that you deserve, that part deserves, all aspects of yourself deserve, and that you can create that practice at any moment. You don't need to be an expert to give love and attention. It's an innate capacity that you always have within you. Even not knowing how to do it to start, if you just invite that in, if you just try it out, it's there, it'll show up. Love is always there to show up. It's a very natural, innate quality that is always there. That potential is always there within you and within our world to draw from. It's from inside, outside, all around us. However you want to visualize it, it's always there. So I hope that helps, and sending you lots of love.